1 hour 11 minutes. Review of H. In English, UAP and NHI are best described as apparitions. I am interested in seeing more EKG and MRI scans from individuals both before and after they experience encounters, perhaps following activities such as sky watches or oral transmissions of these experiences. Is there any measurable difference detectable before and after such events? Given that it is difficult to find experiencers prior to their encounters, it may be beneficial to include non-experiencers in controlled environments with organized sky watches. Some individuals reportedly have the ability to initiate these events, while others might project. This could allow for group observation and testing, possibly even remotely. Additionally, I am curious about the relationship between water and spirit. Spiritual texts reference this connection, even prior to our scientific understanding that the human body is composed primarily of water, and that ether is sometimes considered an element associated with spirit or spirituality. What, if any, is the significance of this association? My question arises from the idea that certain entities are capable of taking on forms themselves, ranging from orbs to beings, and that perceptions of crafts might represent something else entirely. Could this be a key to understanding these phenomena, and if so, how and why?
44.32.
Furthermore, I am interested in learning how light can be extracted and converted into information. I believe that when these entities emit flashes of light, they may be transmitting data, which is perceived through thoughts and feelings, essentially, different elements. I wonder if this information can be directly extracted, or if the flash simply serves as a greeting signaling their presence.
50.32.
The structure of communication between the HI, human interactions, and NHI, non-human intelligence, seems to exist within a mental framework. In my experience, I often call out to them and wait for a response. Not every time I call am I answered. My own behavior or mood can affect my ability to reach out. Alternatively, it might be that they do not respond during those times. We must remember that we are the lower-level species. Do you often check in on your fish or pets housed in tanks? It appears that belief and intention are crucial, and certain times of day can result in better sightings. For instance, I think anyone can observe during the twilight hours. Something changes that makes sightings possible within those times, and the wait is not very long. Close encounters seem to be associated with specific actions or assumptions, essentially, taking the correct steps. Why is this phenomenon significant? If we examine historical texts, it is clear across various religions and concepts that certain individuals receive and convey ideas and notions about the divine. These individuals have been referred to as seers, high priests, and many other names throughout history. Regardless of the title, they were seen as connections between the divine source and the human realm. This structure appears to be what is being requested. While it may be acceptable to overlook the experiencer, it is not the correct approach. The experiencers should be acknowledged and personally vetted. My current vetting process involves looking for apparitions and therianthropes, as they seem to relate to many historical narratives, ideologies, and myths. I now suspect these beliefs to be primarily based on fact, although distorted over time, much like the game of telephone. Only experiencers seem to truly recognize this connection. It is worth noting that some experiencers are left with a buzzing tone in their left ear, mainly after a close encounter. Can this be identified? Data interpretation may not align with the intended meaning without considering the experiencers. They form the triangle in the framework, providing feedback in the loop. Aerodynamic limits are non-existent, in other words, they do not have boundaries and often do not take a conventional form, but rather exist as light, as discussed by Diana Polska. Her book offers useful insights into added phenomenology despite the limitations imposed by the framework of its investigation. I often question why NHI employs progressive methods in their structure or nature. I hold strong beliefs and doubts, but that's why I explore this topic. When in doubt, work it out. There has always been a level of mental programming in this area, originating from the earliest forms of sun worship and best articulated by the Scandinavians, who also utilize seers, termed SADIR, in contemporary language, experiencers. Both male and female seers existed, with women often regarded as having a higher status than men in all capacities, including fighting abilities. I am unsure how to find more information on this subject because when I approach historians, they often scoff, dismissing these accounts as mere traditional myths that hold no factual basis. Yet they appear to contain truths, if you have witnessed them. These seers were known to manipulate plasma balls and call them into the sky, referred to as orbs or beings. This aligns with what I, and likely most experiencers, believe. The story is older and deeper than we are typically told, likely due to the victors of history, and our species' limitations in accessing data older than 300 years, which restricts the search possibilities for those who seek the truth. The underlying principles appear to serve as reminders about the realms we inhabit. To be honest, they remind us that we are created, and that there is much more to these realms than we can easily define. It's hard to ignore and challenging to define scientifically. Even to discuss these concepts logically is difficult. Belief may play a role in shaping our experiences, or may be tied to them even before the events occur. In exploring the phenomenology of older texts and stories, I have discovered many key points that resonate with the beliefs of other experiencers who have had similar encounters, as validated by their writings. Many of them have a deep connection that they struggle to explain. They often find it hard to sleep, resting only a few hours at a time, with some experiencing exhaustion from their encounters or simply needing to recharge. Most use meditation and prayer to facilitate this, which leads to mental states that are both proven and studied. They pray to a higher power without naming a specific being. These experiencers have insights into the realms and frequently face minor tests that vary in nature. This is mentioned because it leads to a shared belief. Each time they succeed in making a correct move, a new event may occur. While this belief isn't scientifically proven, it holds merit in the phenomenology of those who experience it, as they often harbor doubts even after receiving glimpses of truth. They can recognize historical texts related to non-human intelligence, NHI, or unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, based on descriptions, while most people only see the surface story. Some experiencers also recognize that the oral transmission of these encounters contains a kind of codex, allowing for potential spiritual initiation. This initiation could lead to ongoing or even single experiences, though it becomes challenging when one engages with it continuously, leading to other side effects. Yet, would they change it if they could? Many experiencers express feelings of wanting to go home or feeling as if they might be trapped in some way, emphasizing that they believe they must find their own way out. Others combine this belief with the idea that these beings are teaching us along the way. Personally, I feel torn between these perspectives and often wonder why memories are frequently erased before individuals are returned to their lives. Dr. Siphone is correct that the message lies in the relationships we form. Right now, this message is that we are created by a higher being, and the world consists of realms. In contemporary terms, we refer to these as dimensions. There are layers to the UAP events involving biological entities, metas, therianthropes, and apparitions. With extensive research, one might conclude that there is more to the human condition than previously understood. Theories range from us being created to us being the creators, visiting or observing ourselves along the way. The unsettling aspect of this theory is the possibility that we could be in a simulated reality, where the NHI might represent friends or family, tribes, visiting our current state, or the outcomes we might have reached. Despite glimpsing these realities, doubt lingers, whether for rationality's sake, sanity, or perhaps even as part of the design. I personally believe it is highly probable that these experiences serve as reminders of the realms and conditions in which we should operate as a species. I question why they often choose individuals who seem insignificant, and I wonder whether this is a deliberate choice based on known probabilities. Given their understanding, they recognize that experiencers will pursue these encounters selflessly, regardless of being seen as crazy or disdained. This phenomenon is reflected in historical and spiritual texts of higher order. What was once known in medieval English as the divine right of kings has now been overshadowed by hostile takeovers, highlighted by events like Friday the 13th. Before this time, individual locations and tribes reported similar spiritual encounters, leading to the assumption that these were genuine experiences rich with clues. Ultimately, the order has always been rooted in a belief in a higher power, which one can interpret as God or a higher being. Various names have been used throughout history, with Elohim being among the most recognized. The term apparitions may also be appropriate due to the nature of these beings. From this understanding emerges the potential for spiritual initiation, which can develop over a lifetime. This development often entails a continuous drive to seek more knowledge, insight, and experiences. This represents the original top-down leadership, with different beings for various family members, as evidenced by tribal banners and historical encounters. Although no DNA evidence currently supports this theory, it aligns with archetypes that resonate with specific individuals at distinct times, fitting into the NHI paradigm. Adopting certain experiencers may serve to please those following the original ways. They don't seem to mind certain aspects of the experience and allow individuals to learn from both good and bad encounters, an important variable to consider. So let's recap the framework the NHI uses in simple terms. Experience equals spiritual initiations. Spiritual initiations equals hero story. Hero equals divine right of kings. Divine right of kings equals top-down leadership. Note on variables and the inclusion of others and human-vetted experiencers. If we follow this approach, we might see what happens next and even be prepared to study the next event. It seems to align with what they are indicating through their experiences. Examples listed above suggest ways to test theories and changes related to environmental and mental states. I might even experiment with an open wound to observe how healing occurs statically after other scans, considering the known effects on human skin following a close encounter. Regarding communication, they don't speak vocally at least. The only data we have comes from religious and esoteric texts. These suggest that they cannot touch the ground as they exist in a different nature. They may be made of spirit or some form of stardust. I find it intriguing when ancient texts mention being born of both spirit and water. How are so many simple comments connected to such complex ideas and notions? Signs of intelligence * this concept needs to be redefined. While rocks may not exhibit intelligence, trees do, they know where the light is and grow accordingly. Thus, we cannot exclude nature or concepts like this, as therianthropes are considered higher beings than humans, implying that in their eyes, we are still animals. This translation relates to the elements and the seven senses, articulated with signs and written explanations in the Masonic Encyclopedia, 2B1A1. It states that these signs are for the transition from the animal state, with key phrases emphasizing our ongoing animalistic nature. Interestingly, the signs given align with 3 known signals experienced by living experiencers to date, including myself, the triangle. I did not retain it upon my return, and that experience was wild. I wonder about the child I encountered. Will I ever find him? Was he with them as part of a test? It seems likely. He handed me the triangle, and then the doors opened. I moved left, right, and left again, only to get knocked out. I forgot to check the right corner. I merely looked back and told the child, "Let's go," and I woke up in bed, unharmed, a more fortunate outcome than that of the other 3 tall beings in the hallway. Properties * wind, water, earth, fire and ether. Ether and fire merge, somehow contributing to the creation of matter. I found similar signs, as noted above. I recalled those hieroglyphics from a craft I observed with my wife. I now wear them as tattoos, like my own jersey. I'm saving my $1 Isaac Newton bill until this puzzle is solved. Categories * apparitions, dimensions and realms. Examples from the Middle Ages can be found, with the most famous reference being from the Queen's ceremony, where she is recognized as the protector of the realms. Perceptions * we look up at the sky while they look down. From the outside, it seems like we are on an invisible fabric, staring straight ahead. This creates a perception issue whereby we are limited by our own structure, leading one to ponder why. Is it by design? It must be, given what we are led to accept as fact. Then, why can we see when they choose to let us? How does that work? Side effects. Side effects may include an intense drive to solve the puzzle without fully understanding the motivations behind it. Some may experience darker thoughts or loneliness, which is evident in related literature and psychology reports. Others may find an increase in intelligence or charisma, which I refer to as perks. Abilities such as hearing, seeing, or feeling may also arise, but one should be cautious about discussing such experiences, as it might lead others to think you're crazy, and bragging will lead you to failure. Some experiencers desire their time in the limelight or fame. It likely feels good not to be labeled crazy and to receive gratitude from others. I wouldn't know from personal experience, but it could hinder the progression of one's experiences. This is not an exhaustive list. At 1 hour and 33 minutes into this clip, he asks how to qualify this data. Look for key phrases. These keywords are evident in experiences' descriptions. They often express a desire to go home or to be free. This sentiment can be traced from Mesopotamia to the present day. How did they feel? Why did they feel that way? What is their internal relationship with them, which seems to manifest strongly? After compiling a long list of words, the data must be analyzed in 3 ways. First, using AI for simplicity. Second, an externally unbiased source. And third, presenting it to experiencers and asking them to include their open and honest opinions. Finally, I think every experience contains multiple interpretations, all of which can be valid. These, along with flashes of light, might transmit significant information we've been overlooking. So my question is, how do we prove or disprove this theory?